Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going on a journey that is, honestly, a little mind-bending. We're going to skip our usual agenda today because I really want to keep the surprises intact as we take a literal micro to macro journey. We're going to start with a tiny everyday human interaction. And by the end of this, we'll be looking at the literal birthplaces of stars. So, let's just dive right in.
So, picture this. What connects a casual text message you might send your best friend, a stunning Pacific island chain, and the vast, swirling cosmic clouds where stars are born? It kind of sounds like the setup to a weird riddle, right? But these seemingly completely unrelated concepts share a bizarre, yet fascinating linguistic and phonetic link, the letters H and I. Let's start at the very beginning, right at the microscopic, interpersonal level of human connection.
Section 1. The meaning of hi. You know, when we look at greetings, particularly through the lens of Hindi translation, we see a really distinct social function. Both hi and hello translate to greetings of deep respect, like namaste, namaskar, or salam. But hi, which you'll sometimes see spelled with a double I in text messages, is strictly an informal bridge. It's the language of equals. You use it with your friends, or maybe people younger than you. Hello, on the other hand, well, that's formal. It's reserved for elders, teachers, or officers. So hi is this highly specific linguistic tool designed for casual, close human connection. But what happens if we zoom out a bit from this tiny little word?
Section 2. Welcome to State High.
Now let's playfully pivot on those two little letters, H and I, zooming out from an informal greeting to the ultimate USA destination of hospitality, Hawaii. Let's look at how this remarkable place actually came to be. Way back, as early as the 8th century, Polynesian settlers arrived from the South Seas. They navigated these vast open ocean expanses in double-hulled canoes, bringing crucial seeds and animals, like pigs and chickens, just to cultivate the land. Jump ahead to 1778, and Captain James Cook arrives, becoming the first European to map the archipelago. Then, by the 1820s, Christian missionaries started arriving from New England, and they were soon followed by groups from literally all over the globe. This constant influx of completely different peoples drastically altered the social fabric of the islands forever.
Which brings us to this pretty incredible number, 40%. The arrival of so many diverse groups over the centuries sparked an incredible era of interracial interchanges. Fast forward to today, and Hawaii is the most multi-ethnic state in the U.S., with around 40% of Hawaiian marriages being interracial. It's a society that is fundamentally built on the blending of cultures and peoples.
But of course, state Hawaii isn't just history and beautiful beaches, it's a massive, complex, modern economy. Grounding this society in some hard economic data, we can look at the forecasts from the University of Hawaii. The projections for 2026 show U.S. employment hovering around 163 million, with real GDP forecasted at over 24 trillion chain 2012 dollars. These massive external macroeconomic factors deeply impact Hawaii's local economy, its tourism sector, and its overall growth. So we've got this highly complex, multi-ethnic state anchored in some very hard economic realities. But what actually holds this unique society together on a purely human level?
Section 3. The Spirit of Aloha.
All right, so moving from the geography and economy of Hawaii into the deep cultural philosophy that actually governs it, aloha. It is so much more than just a translation for our earlier word, hi. It encompasses love, affection, peace, compassion, and mercy, and it's used for both welcoming someone and bidding them farewell. Anthropologist Francis Newton famously pointed out that aloha is a sentiment so complex and so profound that it totally defies a simple English equivalent. It's really an overarching ethic of care and reverence for all people and all elements of the land. Get this spirit is so foundational to the culture there that the state literally codified it into law. The 1986 Aloha Spirit Law mandates how state officials and judges absolutely must treat the public. And look at how beautifully they structured it. They created an acronym out of the word's letters. A is for akahai, meaning kindness. L is for lokahi, unity. O is for olu, being agreeable. H is for haha'a, humility. And the final A is for ahanui, patience. It is literally a legal requirement to embody these specific traits.
Linguistically speaking, this word has a really fascinating dual history. The scientific etymology traces it back to the Proto-Polynesian word karofa, which means love or compassion. But the folk etymology, that is arguably even more poetic. It breaks the word down into alo, meaning presence or face, and ha, meaning breath. So together, aloha literally translates in this folk history as the presence of breath. It's an energetic exchange of life between people. Now, I want you to hold on to that idea of presence and energy because we are about to make our biggest jump yet.
Section 4, HI, Cosmic Scale.
Okay, time for our final massive zoom out. We're moving from the breadth of human presence all the way to the staggering vastness of deep space. Now, a quick caveat. If you hop online and search HII, you might actually pull up the financial reports for Huntington Ingalls Industries. They're a massive defense contractor and shipbuilding company, and yes, they completely own that corporate abbreviation. But we're leaving the shipyards in the rearview mirror right now and heading straight into astrophysics.
So what actually is an HII region in space? Well, it's a massive, low-density interstellar cloud made up of partially ionized atomic hydrogen gas. These glowing clouds are the literal nurseries of the universe. This is exactly where star formation occurs.
To understand why it's called HI, we have to briefly look at how astronomers name things. An HI region, that's H with a Roman numeral 1, consists of neutral atomic hydrogen. But an HII region, H with a Roman numeral 2, means the hydrogen is singly ionized. Basically, it's lost its electron, leaving behind this plasma of free protons. That ionization is the key physical difference here.
And humanity has been staring up in wonder at these regions for a very long time. Back in the year 1610, shortly after the telescope was invented, a French astronomer named Nicolas-Claude Fabry de Peiresc pointed his instrument right at the Orion Nebula. He became the first person to ever observe an H2 region, discovering these incredible cosmic structures centuries before we even had the tools to understand the physics behind them. Fast forward to today, and we know exactly what kind of intense physics are happening inside these beautiful glowing clouds. It's all driven by a process called photoionization equilibrium. Here's how it works. Step 1, brand new, incredibly hot stars emit intense ultraviolet starlight, which literally knocks electrons right off the surrounding neutral hydrogen atoms. Step 2, those newly freed electrons eventually find ions and recombine. And step 3, a detailed, continuous balance is achieved between the starlight tearing atoms apart and the atoms putting themselves back together again.
When astronomers sit down to mathematically model this recombination gas, they generally look at two scenarios. Case A assumes the nebula is optically thin, which basically means photons just pass right through without being absorbed. But honestly, that's really rare in nature. Case B assumes the gas is optically thick, meaning those photons are absorbed and scattered all within the cloud. Case B is usually the necessary assumption astronomers have to use because real nebulae have a very high optical depth. And as you can imagine, the models get incredibly complex.
And just how complex do these models get? Astronomers use rigorous, heavy-duty equations to calculate the line-to-continuum ratio in these clouds, which allows them to understand the highly excited states of the atoms. This involves really advanced concepts, like the Rydberg constant, which helps define energy levels. Now, you definitely don't need to memorize the math here, but just appreciate the sheer scientific rigor required to understand a cloud of gas that is thousands of light years away from us.
But wait, the math doesn't even stop at hydrogen. The calculations also have to account for the fraction of helium present in the cloud, factoring in the interactions between free electrons and ionized helium. This adds entirely new layers of complexity to understanding the continuum of light we're actually observing from these regions.
And the type of star powering the whole thing? That changes everything too. In astrophysics, a star under 40,000 Kelvin is actually considered a cool star. Crazy, right? The photon energy distributions show that these quote-unquote cool stars emit plenty of photons energetic enough to ionize neutral hydrogen, but they have very few photons capable of ionizing neutral helium because that requires much higher energy. This constant interplay completely dictates the structure and the layers of the entire HII region.
Which brings us to the end of our cosmic zoom. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is this. We started with a casual text message, a simple, informal hi, designed just to connect with a friend. We zoomed out to the state of HI, Hawaii, a place governed by the profound, welcoming spirit of aloha, literally, the presence of breath and energy exchange between people. And finally, we zoomed all the way out to HE regions, the immense, energized clouds where the universe breathes life into brand new stars. From human language to the laws of astrophysics, everything we've looked at today is fundamentally about energy, presence, and connection. So how does our simple human need to communicate mirror the fundamental physical connections forming the universe itself? That is absolutely a thought to keep you looking up. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and I'll see you next time.